and really break out and get that counseling, get to that place where they need to be. And it took her a while. It literally was up until our second year where she hit the lowest point ever. And I was at a club and she called me and like she was like very frantic, and I was like, you know, like right now you're irrational, like do you want me to talk through it, like I can go in the bathroom with you? And then she's like, no, like this is different, like Brooke, like it's gotta end, like it's like, like it's done.
Like she was talking about suicide?
Really? And I was like, so like I literally like just like I was like, hey, like I'm going, like got in a taxi, like went home. And like the state that like our house was in, like everything was thrown everywhere, like there were like papers, like she was like writing frantically, like just like different like things, and like she like locked herself like in the bathroom. And I was just like, hey, like how are you? Like her thing is like 1 to 10, so like that's like what has always been her thing, and she has to quantify like how she's feeling on a 1 to 10
scale.
Yeah, and that itself grounds you in some sense, because it means that you actually have to understand like how you're feeling. And like, like she was like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, like
so that lowest being the worst. Okay.
Yeah, and like she doesn't usually say 0, so like I was just like, do I need to call someone? Like you need to talk to me. And like she was like, call someone like right now. And I was like, you gotta open the door though, or else like I'll like break it down.
Yeah.
And like she opened the door, like she's like holding scissors, but like she's not like doing anything, she's like sitting. And then I was just like, hey, like, I'm staying here, like, and I'm gonna call like the police, like I'm gonna call 911. And like she's just like, like do it if you have to, like I don't care. Like at that point, like she like switched and like she was like aggressive, like she was just like, I don't know why you're doing this, is not a big deal, Brooke, like blah blah blah, like fuck this, fuck that, like you know.
Yeah.
And then like they came, like the crisis team came, and like they kind of talked, and like the police officers like talked to me and my roommates. And that was like a really tough time for them too, because like they know of my friend's depression, but they're just kind of like, oh, like like she's mental health issues, like it's fine, like we don't deal with it, so it's like no. But then when they saw it like so real, like I could see like it like shook them. They were like, they were so scared, and like they were like, how are you so calm, like what are you doing? And I was like,
who was it? So who was it specifically that was scared?
My 2 other roommates.
Your 2 other roommates.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were the only one that was really keeping your shit together.
And that's just because like I've known her since my first year, right? Like, and I've been through it firsthand, and like it's unfortunate that they don't have the same relationship with her, but like like that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But crisis team was really good. Like they were really, really great with her. Police officers in London.
Was the crisis team CMHA?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay, because I know that CMHA, which is Canadian Mental Health Association, has a mobile crisis team that gets called and comes out in situations like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were called when the police were called, or if the police got a hold of them.
Yeah, usually when you call for suicide attempts, they get a crisis team too, because like police officers are not always equipped for that. Because that's happened to me in another instance too, in which I like was like, you guys need to show a little more empathy. Like I understand that you guys are police officers, but
right? Like, you don't understand what's going on in this person's mind right now. Yeah, and I think that to be fair to the police department, from what I understand, I totally get it. I've seen that asshole approach and the coming in with that attitude of the authority figure. But at the same time, I think they're doing more to reach out now and to understand mental health better, because it's becoming such a just an epidemic, really.
Yeah, and it's really, really important to understand, because I remember even one time where she was so drunk that she passed out, where is it? By like 695, like on like Richmond Road, like because she was
by the
so she was so drunk, and like she was so upset, and like she was like throwing up, crying. So like I had to call someone, because no cab would take us, and like I couldn't physically lift her to our house.
Sure.
So, and the paramedic who came was so callous, and like because she just assumed, like she was just like, oh, this girl, she drank too much, like she's drunk. And I told her, I was just like, my friend has mental health illness. I was like, this is not just like a drunk girl. I was like, you need to cater to that.
Sure.
Like she was like, it's 2 a.m. She was like, I know this type of case, and like she would not let me come in the ambulance with her, and
really?
I was so furious. Like I was so angry. And then when my roommate came back, like she was just so like sad and like disappointed in herself. She was like, you know, like she was like, I didn't need to get my stomach pumped. Like they like basically took me there, like sent me back. Like she was just like, I'm so sorry, Brooke. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So sorry. And like I was like, it's not like your fault. Like I'm really sorry. Like the way they dealt with you, because it didn't need to be dealt with like that. Like the fact that you were drunk is one factor, but it's also fueled by what you're dealing with internally, right? So like I was really, really disappointed with that. With that experience.
I think that I mean, obviously when you add drugs and alcohol into the mix with somebody that's already dealing with a mental illness, it can amplify things, and things can go very bad very quickly, depending on how much they've taken and what they've taken. So good for you for at least having the insight into. This is the thing, the world needs more people like you, because I understand that when you're in a job, whether it's being a paramedic or being a police officer or being someone that obviously you're dealing with people on a regular basis, sometimes you build up an immunity to that, and you just kind of, you lose your sympathy and your empathy for what the other person is going through. But it seems like you kind of held your shit together in a situation. Obviously you knew her a little better, in all fairness, but still, they should have listened to you.
Yeah.
They really should have. And I think that this is just the problem that we deal with, is that we need to be better and better equipped to deal with mental health issues, regardless of where they are. They're going to happen, whether people are drunk or not on the street.
Yeah. And
just to really be knowledgeable about this thing that we've tried to avoid for fucking ever, right? And no one wanted to talk about. So I think you did a fantastic job. It sounds like you did everything that you could have done for this person, and wow, just wow, good for you.
She's honestly, she's wow, because like the place that she is now, like she's given up on drinking. Like she does it very, very sparingly, and like never to a point of intoxication. Like she's grown so much. Like she hasn't cut in what's gonna be a year, and like she's just so different. She's in a great stable relationship with like a great she has a great girlfriend. And I just think that it's really, really brilliant that she was able to get to this point. And yes, like I supported her, but like there's no way that she could have gotten to that place without her solely wanting to make herself better and to just really deal with it. Because right, like mental illness never goes away, right? Like you can cope with it, like you can medicate it, but like it's never gone. And she's very, very self-aware now. Like she knows when she's down, like she knows when she's anxious, and like just like thinking of like the person who she used to be, like it like amazes me like every time.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. That's a success story,
right? Like,
so it really is. I mean, someone that went from being at a 0, which apparently on your scale that you developed, which is a fucking fantastic idea. But I mean, if she's being at a 0 and potentially thinking about ending her own life, to being the position she is today, that's an inspirational story for someone that feels like they're at a 0 right now. So something like that is, I love hearing shit like that. That's fantastic, because it means someone stuck with it and someone sort of realizes that they're here for a reason, right? Which is kind of your belief system as well, or your mom's belief system that kind of wore off on you. So I think that's fantastic. And how did you find dealing with someone that was sort of going through these mental, I guess we can call them just kind of bouts of, was it depression that she was going through?
Yeah, she's depression and anxiety.
So is she on medication for those now?
So just this year she started medication, and it's a topsy-turvy. So like she was getting really bad headaches because the dosage was too high, so now she's cut it, and it's just kind of finding like a good mix. But she says that it does really help. That's specifically for anxiety, her medication, and she says that it definitely has been helping. But she's like, it's just finding the right amount that like it doesn't like throw my body like out of whack. That's
interesting too, because when you get on those medications, it's kind of, well, like you doing your dance, you're kind of dancing with the medication, because it takes a little bit of time to work. And you're not going to get it right usually the first time. Usually it takes a few times, whether it's the right medication or the right dose. But it sounds like she's doing better. If it's helping her, stay with it, you know?
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I'm really proud of her.
Has she done any, and she can, when she's ready, if she wants to come on here, she's more than welcome to, because the more people that can actually try to explain what it is that they've gone through. And you obviously do a great job of doing it from being sort of firsthand. But the more people that can kind of explain that, I think the better the conversation and the more open it will be, hopefully worldwide eventually. But maybe I've got that optimism still too, just like you.
It's true though, and I think she's working towards it because like she's like a shy person inherently. She's like an introvert, but she's a poet and she's a writer.
Good for her.
So through her writing, it's also like cathartic, right? And like she's able to share her experiences in that sense too. Like she writes for the Western Mind, which is just like a little column that like Western does. Like it's by a group of Western students specifically about mental health and like the different avenues of that. And she got a writer position with them this year, which is really, really awesome because that's what she was born to do. Like she's a brilliant writer, like amazing.
Awesome. So let's talk about you now. How did that affect you? This whole, I mean, why do you think this happened? Why do you think that you were paired up with this individual? You just sort of, was it just the luck of the draw that you became roommates?
That's one.
That's one? Okay.
But I think that people come into your life like for a specific reason. Like in that sense with her, like, you know, like I lived a very privileged life. Like, yes, like whatever, like I was the only black kid in my class, but there are far worse fates
right, sure,
for people.
Sure,
like I had a very affluent upbringing and I never experienced that. And then getting to meet Hannah changed my mindset on a lot of things. Like I thought that suicide was selfish. I was like, I understand mental health is a bad thing, but I was just like, it can't be that bad that you can't like pull yourself out of it.
Right. So you didn't understand it very well in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just understood at a very like surface level. I was like, okay, like you have depression, like take depression meds. You have anxiety, like learn to be around people more. Like I just thought it was like very like
black and white.
Yeah, like literally like black and white.
Yeah. No pun intended about your schooling. But
it's us.
Yeah. So how did you find, like, obviously you learned a lot about mental health in the process of dealing with this individual. Was there ever any times where you just wanted to say fuck this, like I can't handle it?
Not necessarily, but it was really hard at first because especially in our first and second year, because when she was drunk, a lot of aggression would be at me and I just kind of like learned how to swallow it. And like I remember one instance, like specifically, like I was like, you know, like hooking up, like seeing a boy, like whatever.
Okay,
and
we'll
like,
talk about that in a minute.
And like we were at a club and like she was like obviously very intoxicated.
Yep.
And I was just like, I'm gonna go home, like would you want to come home with me? And like she was just like, oh, like you're just gonna go suck so-and-so's dick, like whatever, slut. Like, and I was like,
oh really?
Like that one like really, really hurt me just because there was already drama like surrounding like the boy. Like so I was just like, man, like you're usually like the one person who's like in my corner,
right? And
like after that, like her and I like had like a conversation about it, and like she just completely understood. Like she was just like, I know that I was like intoxicated, and like I know that like I have like my own mental health issues, but like she was like, what I did was inexcusable.
Right.
Like, she's like, and I want you to know that like I recognize that like what I did was hurtful to you, and like that. And, like, just, like, instances like that and, like, having... Because we get into things like that a lot, like, especially when you're dealing with something, like, you don't realize that, like, little things. Like, I would, like, tease her in some certain sense, and, like, that would trigger, like, anxiety, and I would have to get past that. And, like, she would say certain things when she's in an irrational state that would, like, hurt me, and, like, she would have to really work through getting past that. So, like, we've done a lot of growing within our friendship that, like, has, like, been, like, hard because, like, she knows how much she means to me, so she knows how much, like, when she's in a state that, like, she's being abrasive, like, that, like, it's hard for me to, like, deal with it, but, like, she'll always come back and, like, apologize for it, and, like, even that, to me, like, means enough.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like the skills that you've built, I'm listening to these conversations, and people my age, I'm going to be 34 soon, so... People my age aren't having these mature conversations. So good for you. It sounds like you guys both learned a lot through this relationship that you had. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you think this is going to help you in the future?
Just like, I always say, like, awareness is kind of like the overarching, like, term of what I use. It just like, really knowing someone's experience and then being able to apply it to different situations. So in philosophy, like we learned about like moral deference